Well, on to the details now. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday said that he would discuss with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu measures that Israel still needs to take to increase the flow of aid into Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel on Tuesday with plans to discuss the increased flow of aid into Gaza. Blinken is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. Blinken told reporters earlier in the day that he intended to discuss aid that is still needed in Gaza during his meeting.
We're determined that people get the assistance that they need. And we're doing that in parallel with seeking to secure a ceasefire and the release of hostages. That's also the best way to create an environment in which we can maximize assistance getting in, ease the suffering of people, and also create the conditions for an enduring, lasting peace.
Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed again on Tuesday to go ahead with a long-promised offensive against Hamas in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Netanyahu said that with or without a deal, Israel intended to pursue the operation to destroying the remaining Hamas combat formations in Rafah. Israeli officials have said the operation could be deferred if Hamas accepts the deal on offer, which includes no definitive ceasefire but the return of 33 vulnerable hostages, women, children and those in frail health, in exchange for a much larger number of Palestinian prisoners and a limited pause in the fighting. The Israeli military said 2 divisions which left Gaza last week were refitting and repairing equipment and holding training and operational assessment exercises in preparation for continued operations in Gaza. And the U.S. State Department said the U.S. has not seen a credible Israeli plan for a military operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah that would address its concerns. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden has long said that it will not support an offensive on Rafah without a credible plan to protect the civilians there.
It continues to be the case that we have not seen a credible plan that would address the varying areas of concerns that you've heard me talk about a number of times from up here and others, primarily the ability to address the serious humanitarian concerns surrounding, again, Rafah is a region with more than 1 million people seeking refuge. It's an area that continues to be an important conduit for humanitarian aid as well as a safe departure for foreign nationals. And so any kind of operation that does not address some of these key concerns would certainly be opposed by us.
Well, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Tuesday called on Israel to follow through on its promise to open 2 crossings into northern Gaza so aid can be delivered directly from Israel's Ashdod port and Jordan, and to allow safe, rapid and unimpeded aid access throughout Gaza.
Nearly 7 months after 7 October, the situation for people in Gaza is worsening by the day. I've called consistently for a humanitarian ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and a massive surge in humanitarian aid. Unfortunately, that has not happened yet. But negotiations are once again underway. For the sake of the people of Gaza, for the sake of the hostages and their families in Israel, and for the sake of the region and the wider world, I strongly encourage the government of Israel and the Hamas leadership to reach now an agreement.
Well, the United Nations on Tuesday warned that an Israeli assault on Rafah in Gaza was on the immediate horizon. The UN aid chief Martin Griffiths in a statement said the world has been appealing to the Israeli authorities for weeks to spare Rafah, but a ground operation there is on the immediate horizon. He added the simplest truth is that a ground operation in Rafah will be nothing short of a tragedy beyond words. And the World Central Kitchen said it has resumed operations in Gaza on Monday, a month after 7 workers of the US-based charity were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Prior to halting operations, WCK had distributed more than 43 million meals in Gaza since October, representing by its own account 62% of all international NGO aid. The charity said it had 276 trucks with the equivalent of almost 8 million meals ready to enter through the Rafah crossing and will will also send trucks into Gaza from Jordan. And the U.S. military is building a large floating pier off Gaza's coast to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid. A floating dock is being assembled offshore of Gaza, and along with the floating pier will be part of the joint logistics over-the-shore system that will help deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza. Ships will deliver aid from Cyprus to the pier, where it will be loaded onto trucks to transfer across Gaza. Announced in March, the pier will be operational by early May. Once operational, up to 150 trucks of aid could be delivered a day with 2 million meals, enough to feed almost all of the territory's 2.3 million population. And updates from the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. At least 3 people were killed and many others wounded in a Russian missile attack on the Black Sea port city of Odessa early on Wednesday. The attack also damaged a civilian infrastructure. Odessa has been a frequent target of Russian forces in the more than 2-year-old conflict, with many attacks aimed at the city's port facilities. On Monday, a Russian missile struck an educational institution in the city, killing 5 people and injuring several others. A video footage released by Ukraine's prosecutor general captures the harrowing moment when numerous bomblets erupted in quick succession near the seafront, unleashing chaos and devastation. The assault inflicted significant damage to nearly 20 residential buildings and critical infrastructure. Among the structures ravaged by the assault was an educational institution colloquially referred to as the Harry Potter Castle due to its striking resemblance to the iconic Scottish architectural style. According to Ukrainian authorities, the assault was orchestrated using an Iskander ballistic missile alongside cluster munitions, underscoring the severity of the attack. And meanwhile, as Ukraine continues to face a shortage of weapons, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said on Tuesday that a significant acceleration in deliveries of weaponry is needed from its partners. He said that only this will enable his troops to face advancing Russian troops in several sectors of the front line. Zelenskyy said this as his top commander acknowledged that Ukraine's forces have pulled back from villages in some of the most hotly contested sectors in the 2-year-old war. He pointed specifically to deliveries of U.S. weapons after a 6-month slowdown in supplies as critical in righting the situation at key points in the 1,000-kilometer front line. And the lawyer who allegedly brokered the hush money payment between Donald Trump and an adult film actress has testified that he believed the former president was behind the deal. The court in New York also fined former President Trump for multiple violations of its gag order as his criminal trial over falsifying business record continues. Ira Spitzer reports for more from New York.
More drama at this unprecedented trial here in New York, where Donald Trump is being charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records to facilitate a hush money payment to an adult film star. The first session of the trial's third week kicked off with Trump being fined $9,000 for multiple violations of a court-issued gag order over social media posts he made disparaging potential witnesses and others connected to the trial. Then 2 witnesses took the stand who said they were involved in the hush money payment allegedly arranged by Trump's former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen. The first witness, banker David Farrow, testified that Cohen opened a bank account for a newly created company and transferred money from his personal home equity loan into that account in 2016. And that was the account used to pay $130,000 to the adult film actress Stormy Daniels, who alleges she had an affair with Trump in 2006. Later, the jury heard from a lawyer named Keith Davidson, who at the time represented Daniels, and Karen McDougal, another woman who has said she had an affair with Trump. Davidson testified that he shopped settlement deals around on behalf of both of his clients, ultimately selling McDougal's story to the National Enquirer for $150,000, and that story was then killed to avoid Trump looking bad. And while Davidson said he worked directly with Cohen, it was his understanding that Trump was the driving force behind a deal with Daniels, an assertion that Trump's legal team objected to. Trump has denied having affairs with either Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal. Prosecutors are seeking to prove that the payment, which Trump denies making, undertaken ahead of the 2016 presidential vote, rises to the level of election interference. The court will now take a day off before resuming the following day. Ira Spitzer reporting in New York for DD India.
And Argentina's lower house of Congress gave President Javier Milei a boost on Tuesday by approving his sweeping reform bill ahead of a final Senate vote. Lower house of Congress also backed articles related to privatizing state bodies and labor reform. President Milei hopes that the bill will wrap up the embattled economy and tamp down inflation. Milei has won support from allies in the lower house after months of negotiations and concessions on the reform package, which was rejected at a previous vote in February. The reform package, which is expected to face stronger opposition in the Senate, would give the government the power to restructure or privatize public bodies, reduce red tape to attract investments, and tweak labor regulations. And hunger and starvation are spreading across Sudan as the war that erupted in April last year shows no signs of abating. Parts of the country are on the brink of food scarcity that is brewing crisis that is man-made. Almost 18 million people in Sudan are facing high levels of acute food insecurity. 8 hubs have been looted and blocked by the RSF and its allied militias due to violence. People across Sudan are taking increasingly desperate measures to survive. Economy gets shattered by the fighting affecting everyone. An International Labour Day, also known as May Day or Workers' Day, is annually observed on 1st of May in more than 80 countries, including India, Cuba and many others. The day is celebrated to recognize and honor the significant contributions of workers and mark the historic labour movement that aimed to promote workers' rights and opportunities. 1st May became associated with the labour movement in the late 19th century after trade unions and socialist groups designated it as a day in support of workers for better working conditions, fair wages and shorter working hours. And now it's time for a short break.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, heavy rains across Kenya have killed at least 169 people since March. Weeks of torrential downpours have triggered landslides and washed away homes across East Africa, raising fears of more floods and higher casualties. President of Kenya, William Ruto, visited the town of Mai Mahiu after a mudslide and flash floods killed at least 48 people there, with 84 others still missing. As heavy rains continue to pound the East African nation and its neighbors, the president urged residents in vulnerable areas to evacuate, warning of more downpours in the coming days.
Sehemu nyingi Kenya.
There are similar places in Kenya that this danger tragedy is likely to occur. We will ask the residents to vacate in good time because the forecast shows that the rains will go on.
Tutauliza wananchi.
Well, an unprecedented snowfall damages Afghan fruit trees. The local farmers said hundreds of apple, apricot and cherry trees that were in flower season were destroyed by the snowfall in the last 2 days, causing huge financial losses to almost 2,000 families living in the area. Calling the situation grim, authorities said that sudden snowfall during apple and apricot blossom season is a serious concern for the farmers. Ministry of Afghan helped the farmers who have been affected. And large swaths of Asia are sweltering through a heat wave that has topped temperature records from Myanmar to the Philippines. The heat has hit much of South and Southeast Asia with record temperatures in recent days. Thai authorities have issued warnings about severe conditions. Wildlife Centre Nom Thamao Wildlife Rescue Animals constructed a new water pond for their elephant. Cambodia's government advised to avoid outdoor activities as the heat could surpass 40 degrees Celsius. Scientists warns of more frequent and intense weather crises because of human-induced climate change. And G7 nations have agreed to try and phase out coal power stations by 2035. But questions remain about what will replace them to generate the power these countries need. One of the G7 nations, the UK, risks of falling behind on green energy production and remaining overly reliant on other fossil fuels, according to a new report. John Bever looks at the challenges facing the UK as it aims for a greener future.
You don't need to go far in the UK to find a wind turbine. There are more than 11,000 of them. But 9 years ago, in England, the building of new turbines stopped. An eyesore and not right for England were the reasons given by the government at the time. The production of much more costly offshore wind farms was ramped up instead. But experts say that's not enough.
They've built more wind turbines in the Ukraine since the war started than they have over in England. So there's 2 turbines being built since 2023. And in the Ukraine, they've built 19. It just shows you how far we're falling behind with onshore wind development in England.
A new report from the environmental group Friends of the Earth says England is being held back by a lack of political will, planning red tape, and outdated electrical infrastructure. They argue that by fully embracing green energy, the UK has the potential to become a green energy superpower. The government has recently relaxed some planning restrictions, but critics argue they're still too difficult to navigate and it's putting developers off. There are also growing fears the UK won't hit net zero carbon emissions by its 2050 target. Environmental experts are also reiterating their calls for greater energy efficiency. As well as creating more power through green technologies, the UK and other developed nations are being urged to reduce the amount of energy being used on a daily basis. Some of the methods developed by this environmental consultancy firm were used in the Friends of the Earth report. It says that on and offshore wind turbines, solar and other green technologies easily have the potential to power the UK.
Their study to achieve 13 times the current generation of renewable energy, you need just 3% of the land. So it's not a lot. And even that would deliver way beyond what we need, 2.5 times the amount of electricity that we need to power our homes. So you don't even need 3%. So it's just a small fraction of the amount of land that we have is actually needed.
England's last coal power station will close later this year. Other G7 nations have pledged to try and do the same by 2035. But the fear in the UK is that they'll need to use gas-fired power stations to fill the gaps left by a decade of underinvestment in green energy. John Beaver in the UK, reporting for DD India.
Well, Britain has initiated its first transfer of an asylum seeker to Rwanda for irregular migrants whose applications have been rejected. According to a report, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government plans to begin the expulsions by July. Detainees will quickly be moved to detention centres until they are put on planes to Rwanda. As part of the voluntary scheme, the government has said it would pay asylum seekers up to £3,747.60 each to move to Rwanda. The British government last week adopted a highly criticised law allowing for irregular migrants to be deported to Rwanda. The British government said it expects to deport 5,700 migrants to Rwanda this year in the scheme aimed at deterring migrant arrivals on small boats from Northern Europe. And Ireland's government said on Tuesday it planned to enact legislation by the end of May, allowing it to resume sending asylum seekers back to the United Kingdom. The Irish High Court ruled last month that Ireland could not send back people who arrived from the UK seeking asylum because the Irish government had not outlined whether they could be at risk on their return. Prime Minister Simon Harris set out plans for Justice Minister Helen McEntee to overcome the High Court ruling in remarks to the Parliament. In earlier comments, Harris urged London to stand by a 2020 agreement that allows for asylum seekers to be returned in either direction. And police in Charlotte, North Carolina, is investigating whether more than one shooter opened fire a day earlier in the gun battle that killed 4 law enforcement officers. Gunfire broke out on Monday when the officers were trying to serve a fugitive arrest warrant at a home. Investigators recovered an AR-15 rifle, a .40 caliber handgun, and additional ammunition from the home. 4 other officers were injured in the shooting. 1 remained in the hospital on Tuesday and was expected to make a full recovery.
The investigation into this tragic, brutal, deadly attack will result in more answers that we don't know today. And I expect it to find those answers and to help bring to justice people for these needless deaths of these brave officers. We can never, ever fill the void that they leave behind, and we can never fully thank them for what they do to keep us safe. But today, we can remember them and honor their lives, help their families, and support their fellow officers.
Well, Georgian security forces clashed with protesters outside Parliament late on Tuesday after lawmakers debated a foreign agents bill. The bill has deepened divisions in the country, setting the ruling Georgian Dream Party against a protest movement backed by opposition groups, civil society, celebrities and Georgia's figurehead president. Parliament, which is controlled by the Georgian Dream and its allies, is likely to approve the bill, which must pass 2 more readings before becoming a law. Lawmakers ended Tuesday's session without a vote and the debate will resume on Wednesday. Thousands of anti-government demonstrators have shut down Tbilisi's central streets on the nightly basis since Parliament approved the bill's first reading on the 17th of April. And Haiti's Transition Council on Tuesday named Edgar Leblanc the former Senate president to head the body instated last week. The council also tapped Fritz Belizaire, former youth and sports minister, as prime minister. The 9-member council, which was sworn in at the National Palace last week, consists of 7 voting members and was established with the help of the Caribbean Community and Common Market. It is tasked with the responsibility of naming a new prime minister and cabinet. The committee will exercise certain presidential powers until a new president-elect is inaugurated, which must take place no later than February 7, 2026. Meanwhile, displaced by the violence in Port-au-Prince, Haitians have taken refuge in the northern city of Cap Haitien in an attempt to keep themselves and their families safe. And the Philippines on Wednesday accused China's Coast Guard of elevating tensions in the South China Sea after its use of water cannons that damaged 2 of its vessels. Beijing said it had expelled those vessels from a hotly contested island. The Philippine Coast Guard ship was heading to Scarborough Shoal to assist Filipino fishermen in the area when the fishermen's vessel, along with the Coast Guard, came under the spray of water cannons used by the Chinese Coast Guard ships. This report gives us a clearer picture.
Filipino children learning the hard way about climate change as a scorching heat wave takes temperatures to 43 degrees Celsius, prompting authorities to suspend in-person classes in thousands of schools. But a different kind of heat has been building up in the South China Sea. The Philippine Coast Guard accused Chinese Coast Guard of harassment on Tuesday in a disputed area of the South China Sea. 2 Chinese Coast Guard vessels used water cannons against the Philippine ship, which was patrolling together with a fishing vessel near the Scarborough Shoal. The visuals on your screen were shared by the Philippine Coast Guard. The incident comes as the navies of the Philippines, France and the United States complete a series of dynamic exercises aimed at bolstering maritime capabilities. The 5-day exercise began on the 26th of April according to a statement by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken was in China recently and he told the media that the US commitment to the Philippines was ironclad.
Freedom of navigation and commerce in these waterways is not only critical to the Philippines, but to the U.S. and to every other nation in the Indo-Pacific, and indeed around the world. That's why so many nations have expressed concern about the PRC's maritime maneuvers. I made clear that while the U.S. will continue to work to de-escalate tensions, our defense commitments to the Philippines remain ironclad.
The Philippine Coast Guard on Tuesday accused the Chinese of setting up another floating barrier that covers the entrance of the Scarborough Shoal. Beijing and Manila have confronted each other numerous times in recent months at the submerged reef. Both the Philippines and China claim it as their own, China calling it Huangyan Island.
Huangyan Island is an inherent territory of China. The Chinese Coast Guard took the necessary measures to firmly remove them. China advises Philippine side to immediately stop its infringing and provocative actions and not to challenge China's firm determination to safeguard its sovereignty.
A British scholar who's a Chinese recognized expert on the South China Sea seems to think the US has no real desire to protect the Philippines. Their real interest is to contain China.
It is formally stated by the Americans in their record that their objective is to contain China, and part of containing China means keeping them off these islands.
Japan faces increasing tensions with China over the Senkaku Islands and has delivered a mobile air surveillance radar system to the Philippines. Japan's State Minister of Defense, Oniki Makoto, and Philippines Defense Minister Gilberto Teodoro were among officials who attended the handover ceremony in Manila on Monday. The two countries are at the receiving end of Chinese aggression and are working for enhanced deterrence. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Researchers at an Australian university converts landfill gas to aviation fuel, the initiative to cause a global impact on ecosystem. Sustainable aviation fuel to work as a key factor in reducing emissions. Aviation accounts for an estimated 2 to 3% of global carbon emissions. Former Van Halen vocalist Sammy Hagar, also known as the Red Rocker, unveiled his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Tuesday. The singer, songwriter and guitarist's career has spanned 5 decades, during which he has had 25 albums which have surpassed 50 million worldwide. And still to come on DD India News Hour. President Draupadi Murmu's maiden visit to Ayodhya's Ram Temple today. We tell you about one of the finest India's silks that comes from West Bengal's Murshidabad. And unabated heat wave conditions continue across India as maximum temperatures cross over 40 degrees Celsius.
Hype versus facts. In-depth news and analysis with experts who will help you decide why this election matters. DD India is the main election headquarters with numbers most accurate, data most reliable, and viewership across the platforms. Stay tuned to the Great Indian Election only on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kurana. A quick recap of the headlines once again. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrives in Israel a day after he urged Hamas to accept Israeli truce offer, to also press PM Netanyahu on Gaza aid measures as he vows to carry on with Rafah operation. former US President Donald Trump fined $9,000 for violating gag order in New York hush money trial. Trump terms the gag order as totally unconstitutional. Campaigning for the third phase of India's general election intensifies. Star leaders of various political parties hold back-to-back rallies. PM Modi to hold election rallies in Western Indian state of Gujarat. World observes International Labour Day, marks the historic labour movement promoting workers' rights and opportunities. And moving on, India's President Draupadi Murmu will visit Ayodhya on Wednesday and offer prayers at the Lord Ram Temple. This will be the President's maiden visit to the Ram Temple, which was inaugurated in January. Ahead of the President's visit, mock drills along her route were also conducted. And now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Well, the nomination process for the sixth phase of Lok Sabha elections commenced on Monday. 57 constituencies, including 7 from the national capital Delhi, will be going to polls in the second last phase, or that is on the 25th of May. Let's take a look at who all candidates will find nomination papers today. Bharatiya Janata Party candidates from Northeast Delhi, Manoj Tiwari will file his nomination papers accompanied by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday morning. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami will be in Delhi today. In his presence, BJP's East Delhi Lok Sabha candidate Harsh Malhotra will hold his nomination rally beginning from Priyadarshini Vihar. 14 out of 80 seats of Uttar Pradesh will also witness polling in the sixth phase. BJP candidate Menaka Gandhi from Sultanpur in Uttar Pradesh will also file her nomination papers on Wednesday. She is also scheduled to hold a road show. Another party leader, Jagdambika Pal, will file his nomination from the Dumaraiganj seat of Uttar Pradesh. Samajwadi Party leader Dharmendra Yadav will file his nomination from Azamgarh Lok Sabha constituency of Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, with initial 2 phases witnessing low voter turnout, political leaders are leaving no stone unturned to appeal from voters to come out in the large numbers. With third phase just 6 days away, campaigning has intensified for 94 Lok Sabha constituencies spread across 12 states and union territories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also hold a public meeting in Banaskantha and Sabarkantha in Gujarat. Union Home Minister and senior BJP leader Amit Shah will be campaigning in across Chhattisgarh, Karnataka and Telangana today. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister and BJP leader Yogi Adityanath will be in Maharashtra, where he will be holding public meetings. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge will be in Karnataka today, where he will hold a public meeting. Another Congress leader and former Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel will hold various programs in Chhattisgarh. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav will address a public meeting in Jaswant Nagar of Itewar district in support of Mainpuri Lok Sabha candidate Dimple Yadav. And for more, we have a correspondent joining us from the ground on elections. Well, Aditya Srivastava from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. We have Yogesh and Sheetal from Kolhapur in Maharashtra and Meghna Dev from Ahmedabad in Gujarat. All right, Aditya, my first question to you. Good morning. 9 seats that are going to polls in the third phase. How is the political scene heating up there, and what all rallies are planned to the voters?
Political parties are doing, the campaign in all the, especially in the Gwalior Chambal region. 1 seat from Bundelkhand, which is Sagar. Rahul Gandhi did a rally yesterday in Bhind. Tomorrow, Priyanka Gandhi will take a public meeting in Morena. BJP, if we talk about the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP President JP Nadda will also take rallies in Madhya Pradesh tomorrow. Today, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Uma Bharti, these are the leaders who are taking the public meeting in various places. We can say all political parties are trying to reach last voter of the Madhya Pradesh. We can say in the third place there are 4 seats from Gwalior Chambal region, 1 seat from Bundelkhand, 2 to 3 seats from middle of the MP. There are 3 seats which are important seats in Madhya Pradesh. One is Guna, where the Jyotiraditya Scindia are in battle. He had lost last election from the ticket of Congress, but this time he is in the battle from the BJP. Another one is Rajgarh, former Chief Minister, the big Congress leader Vijay Singh are in battle from Rajgarh. And another one is we can say Bhopal, Vidisha, where the former Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan are in battle. So these are 3 seats of third phase where all eyes put on these 3 seats.
All right. Okay, my second question to you, Yogesh, 11 seats to vote in phase 3, including the important constituencies of Baramati, Sangli and Kolhapur. The fate of the ruling Maha-UT alliance and the opposition Maha-Vikas Aghadi is also going to be decided. Can you tell us more on that?
Truly, Pakchi, coming to all these 11 seats, basically 7 seats in Western Maharashtra, which also includes Baramati. You have rightly underlined that Baramati is going to be a very, fierce battle, we can say, because the battle is between, among the Pawars, and it has been in the political circle that this battle will, the result will definitely decide the fate of NCP, because the Maharashtra Assembly election is also lined up in by the end of this year. Coming to these 2 seats in Marathwada region, there are 2 seats, Osmanabad and Latur. Yesterday, Prime Minister also held rallies there. So in those seats, coming to the basic issues are agrarian issues, and the Prime Minister left no stone unturned while pushing all the schemes and all the steps that have been taken by the centre to ensure that farmers' issues are completely sorted out. On the other end, the Congress and the opposition MVA are also trying their level best to ensure that they could convince the voters. Coming to 2 seats in Konkan region, that is Ratnagiri Sindhudurg, 1 Lok Sabha seat, 1 parliamentary seat, and the other is Raigad. Now coming to these seats, see, overall if you see, BJP is trying to enter in Konkan region, because Konkan BJP was never in Konkan region. Shiv Sena was dominating in the entire region, but this time Narayan Rana has been fielded there. Now if you comprehensively see all the seats, this will definitely going to be very interesting battle, because number of factors are involved there. Not only the caste related issue, Maratha reservation protest we have recently seen, but also the constitutional amendment, the word that has been coined by the Congress party and the Congress top leaders, that will also definitely make some impact, because the majority of constituency, if you see, they are SC constituencies, or their social justice history has been very strong. So number of factors are there, and it will be very interesting to see the result in this phase, particularly in the 11 seats on the 7th of May. Yeah, Lipakchi, over to you.
All right. My next question to you, Megha. Voting for the 25 out of 26 seats in Gujarat will take place in the third phase, except Surat. Prime Minister Modi to also hold rally there. Tell us about the overall political scene right now there.
Well, obviously, Pakshi, when we actually see that the temperature here has also gone up, the political temperature is also rising, because there's just less than a week to go for the polls. And now the political campaign obviously has picked up in the last few days. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be campaigning in Disa, which is in the north of Gujarat, and there is also another rally at Himmatnagar, and tomorrow also Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be campaigning in Gujarat. He has 4 rallies lined up, where he will be going to the Saurashtra region, specifically focusing on the Saurashtra region, be it Surendranagar, Junagadh, Jamnagar, these regions. And obviously there is a rally in Anand as well, which is the milk city of Gujarat, which is in central Gujarat. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rallies in 2 days will encapsulate the regions of Saurashtra, Kutch will also be there in the north of Gujarat, and obviously the central Gujarat. Besides that, one very important thing here is every time when we see after the assembly elections, the vote percentage, when we actually see in 2022, the Bharatiya Janata Party managed to garner 52% votes with 156 seats. So that was a massive number which the BJP got. While the Congress has strongholds in Saurashtra region, which it was able to save in the assembly elections of 2017, it could not manage to hold ground in the 2022 assembly elections. But with having said that, there are, this turf is known, Gujarat is known for a clean sweep for the BJP. We definitely do see a neck-to-neck battle or a good fight in a few constituencies. For example, in Banaskantha, where Geniben Thakur from the Congress is a strong candidate. Besides that, we see in Bharuch as well, where Mansoor Wasawa is against Chaitar Wasawa. Both are the tribal candidates there. Also, we see a fight in Amreli, in Rajkot, a few places where Congress has fielded strong candidates. And obviously, Saurashtra region, for that matter, while the urban region in Gujarat has always been loyal voters for the BJP, Congress had strongholds in Saurashtra, which it is trying to mint for this general elections.
Right. Thank you so much, all three of you, for that election update from there. And moving on, the Telugu Desam and Janasena on Tuesday released their joint election manifesto promising free bus travel for women, monthly financial assistance of 1,500 rupees to women aged 18 to 59 years, among others. Telugu Desam Party President N. Chandrababu Naidu and Janasena Party leader Pawan Kalyan released the joint manifesto. And India is the second largest producer of silk in the world. One of its finest silk comes from West Bengal's Murshidabad, the parliamentary constituency going polls on the 7th of May in the face national elections. The agro-based cottage industry is facing many challenges and is dwindling out despite being the source of livelihood for over 250,000 people in the region. DD India's Gautam Roy finds out what they want from their political suitors.
The weaving of the famed Murshidabad silk in West Bengal on a handloom has its own rhythm and beat. But the zipping of the spindle on the loom is not mirrored by the silk business despite getting a geographical indication tag last year from the central government.
महंगाई में जो है मजदूरी कम है और महंगाई ज़्यादा है यही प्रॉब्लम है.
From weavers to merchants and exporters, Murshidabad's silk industry faces multiple challenges. Sericulture is an agro-based cottage industry. Murshidabad silk provides income to 250,000 people. More than 60% of the workforce is women. Many welfare schemes and subsidies are given by the central government, especially for women. Murshidabad silk is exported to over 30 countries worldwide. The industry faces many challenges ranging from market access to climate change. Weavers are paid less and they have to deal with rising raw material costs. The weavers also get exploited and exposed to pesticides used by farmers. Large number of weavers, silk manufacturers have left the trade in the last 2 decades. Only 28% of weavers are interested in passing on their trade to their children. Hand-woven silk also faces competition from cheaper, machine-made silk from China. Even before getting to the looms, silk cocoons brought from the neighboring Malda district and other places go through a labor and cost-intensive process to make them into threads before weavers turn them into fabric. The government gives subsidies under schemes like Modified Market Development Assistance or MMDA, but they only help to a certain extent. Murshidabad silk in its cocoon form is the color of gold, and at one time it used to be worth its weight in gold. But ever since the COVID pandemic, while the prices of inputs have more than doubled, the price of cocoons on an average has only gone up by 1.2 Indian rupees a kg. And that is making all the farmers in the entire industry suffer. For now, the industry is carrying on, putting out their exquisite wares for interested buyers. Being handmade over days, Murshidabad silk sarees carry a hefty price tag, which only discerning and well-to-do customers can afford.
चल रहा है अच्छा, लेकिन और भी अच्छा चलने के लिए गवर्नमेंट बहुत कोशिश कर रहा है, लेकिन और भी कोशिश करे तो हम लोगों का अच्छा होगा, क्योंकि नए जो लोग हैं, वीवर्स लोग हैं, बुनकर लोग, सभी इस काम में नहीं आना चाहता है.
It's election season in India. Murshidabad, along with its 3 neighbouring parliamentary seats, Jangipur, Uttar and Dakshin Malda, are going to polls on the 7th of May in the third of the 7-phase national polls. Along with other sections of society, the silk industry is also putting forth its demands to political parties, expecting them to deliver using the power of their vote. With camera person Uttam Singh, Gautam Roy, Murshidabad, West Bengal, TD India.
Well, several states across India continue to reel under scorching hot weather conditions and face the impact of heat waves. Maximum temperatures crossed over 40 degrees Celsius in many parts. India Met Department said on Tuesday that heat wave to severe heat wave conditions are likely to continue over East India till 2nd of May and will gradually begin to diminish thereafter. The IMD has also predicted that heat wave conditions will likely to continue over South Peninsular India during the next 5 days. And after the third Nepal Investment Summit in Kathmandu Valley, Post-Investment Summit India-Nepal B2B Meet was organized by the Embassy of India, Kathmandu, in collaboration with the Investment Board of Nepal and Nepal-India Chamber of Commerce and Industry on Tuesday. The B2B meeting was attended by 35 delegates from the Millennium India International Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Nepal-India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, covering energy, agriculture, construction, tourism, cold chain, medical aid devices, finance, consultancy and law sectors. The B2B meeting witnessed the signature of an MOU for cooperation between MICCIA and NICI. Speaking at the event, Trijana Rana, President NICI, identified hydropower, tourism and agriculture as potential areas for cooperation between Indian and Nepali businesses. Ambassador Anil Tringuyat, President MICCIA, appreciated the recent bilateral connectivity initiatives and the importance of B2B connections in taking the India-Nepal economic partnership forward. And fuel shortages continue to plague Nigeria's major cities on Tuesday with lengthy queues at petrol stations. Last year, President Bola Tinubu's administration ended subsidies and allowed private firms to import fuel. However, foreign currency shortages and a cap on petrol prices have kept state-owned firm NNPC as the country's only fuel importer. NNPC has assured customers that it has more than 1.5 billion litres of petrol, sufficient to last for at least 30 days. But as fuel scarcity persists, Nigerians are left grappling with a rising cost of living and protracted waits for petrol as the economy grapples with its highest inflation rate in 28 years. And U.S. stocks ended lower on Tuesday as markets weighed economic data showing rising labor cost. U.S. labor cost rose by more than expected 1.2% last quarter, indicating an uptick in wage pressures. The reports came a day before the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee begins its 2-day meeting, with investors widely expecting the central bank to leave interest rates unchanged. The S&P 500 lost 80.48 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 325.26 points. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 570.17 points. U.S. markets will remain closed today on account of International Labour Day. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve's first May policy review is the prime focus for markets this week. Investors are already anticipating a delay in its rate cuts after a batch of sticky U.S. inflation, and as officials, including Chair Jerome Powell, emphasize even those plans are dependent on data. The Fed is seen holding its benchmark interest rate steady by 5.25% to 5.5% at the April 30th to May 1st meeting. Investors now see perhaps only a single cut this year, currently anticipated by November. And updates now from the world of sports. In tennis, 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal fell in straight sets to Jiří Lečeka in the 4th round of the Madrid Open, marking his final appearance at a tournament. He has won 5 times. Czech 30th seed Jiří Lehecka ended Rafael Nadal's Madrid Open run on Tuesday, following a straight sets win in the last 16. Nadal also received a commemorative trophy from the tournament organized for his 59 matches and 5 titles win, the first on indoor hard courts and other 4 on clay clay courts in its current iteration as a Masters 1000 event before addressing the emotional audience. As the Spaniard finally walked off the court, organizers and staff, including tournament director Feliciano Lopez, formed a guard of honor to send him on his way to the sounds of a standing ovation from the Kaja Majeka. Now updates from the Indian Premier League 2024. Lucknow Super Giants won the match against Mumbai Indians by 4 wickets at the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Ekana Cricket Stadium in Lucknow. Marcus Choinis scored 62 as Lucknow Super Giants rose up to third in the table. Chennai Super Kings will clash with Punjab Kings on Wednesday night at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. CSK are number 3 on the points table, whereas Punjab are at number 8. And Shivam Dube and Yuzvendra Chahal have been named in India's 15-player squad for the upcoming T20 World Cup set to be played in the West Indies and the USA. Meanwhile, Sanju Samson and Rishabh Pant are the 2 wicket keepers named in the squad. The squad is led by Rohit Sharma and has Hardik Pandya as vice-captain. Star batsman KL Rahul has also been dropped.
India's T20 World Cup squad is out. Rohit Sharma captains the team with Hardik Pandya as vice-captain. Rishabh Pant, Shivam Dube and Sanju Samson have been selected in India's 15-man squad. Yuzvendra Chahal is also back in the mix with Kuldeep Yadav, Ravindra Jadeja and Akshar Patel in the spin department. Jasprit Bumrah leads the pace attack with Mohammad Siraj and Arshdeep Singh. Rohit and Virat Kohli return after a break with Yashasvi Jaiswal opening alongside Rohit. Shubman Gill headlines the reserves. The squad is like this: Rohit Sharma, captain; Yashasvi Jaiswal, Virat Kohli, Suryakumar Yadav, Rishabh Pant, Sanju Samson, Hardik Pandya, Shivam Dube, Ravindra Jadeja, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Yuzvendra Chahal, Arshdeep Singh, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj. Reserve players: Shubman Gill, Rinku Singh, Khalil Ahmed, Avesh Khan. India began their 2024 T20 World Cup campaign against Ireland on June 5 in New York and then play Pakistan, USA and Canada on June 9, 12 and 15. Sports Desk, DD India.
Well, Turkmenistan president took place in the celebrations in honor of the National Day of the Turkmen horse on Wednesday. The solemnity of the event was emphasized by musical and choreographic composition with the participation of masters of art from the country. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Dipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.